I have to check in with you guys. I know it's been a while since I've made a video for Kingdom Legacy. I wanted to really just kind of share some of the amazing, miraculous stories that have been happening to me pretty much on a daily basis because I have a section of my YouTube channel that's about miracles and signs and just stories of testimonies of things that I've experienced. And so, since it's becoming so recurring, I'm beginning to document them so I won't forget them and so that people can kind of hear what God still does in 2020. So, one example, I think this happened 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago. I had a friend who reached out to me. It was almost at midnight. And I remember it because I was so tired and I got this long text as I was getting in bed to go to sleep. And the text was like super duper long. And so I was like, oh, do I even want to read this? Like, this is a text. It's like a long text. So it was from my friend Clarice. And she says, hey, I have a goal dream that I needed to share. I know that your spirit and connection to the Lord is something to behold. And then she goes on to tell me her dream. And she goes on to say that um, basically, I just want to share this with you because you have the ability to make the supernatural happen on a regular basis. And if you could please lift me up in prayer, that would be grateful. So basically, to summarize, she wanted to buy a property. She wanted to be able to put a farm there. And it was a big, like lots of acres of land. It was one of those big, impossible dreams that people have. And then they immediately, as soon as they have the dream, they're like, I can never do that. I can never afford that. How could I ever do that? So she sent it to me. I have big faith. Like, there's nothing you can tell me that I would ever say God can't do that. So I prayed and I sent her a message back. I said, why don't you research USDA grants? That just popped in my head. I don't know anything about USDA grants. It just popped in my head. So I just texted that back to her. Why don't you start there? She said, okay, will do. The next day, I get called into my husband's shop, into his office, and he has a client. They want to talk to me about real estate. I sit down, we're having this long conversation about investing and flipping houses, and out of nowhere, something says, ask the man, what does he do? What do you do for a living? So I ask him, what do you do? He said, I work for the Department of Agriculture. I say, okay, well, if someone wanted to buy a piece of land and then turn that land into a farm, and it's in an urban area, and they want to do an urban farm, who should they contact for grant money? And he said, me. I am over all grants for urban farming in the city of Dallas. Now, what are the odds that she would ask me to pray for her and say, hey, call on your God because I know that He answers? And then the very next day, not even 24 hours later, the one person on earth who has what she needs is on my property, sitting on my couch. And they say, I'll help her. Give her my card, anything she needs. I'll walk her through the steps and I'll help her get the money. How is that even possible? As it was happening, I'm like, you're the person, like you're over all the grants, you give the money out. His wife is like, how is this happening? I'm texting Clarice. She's like, how is this happening? Um, that's just one example. Like that type of thing happens on a regular basis. Another example today. When I left my house this morning, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know who I was meeting. So, through a course of divine relationships over the last few weeks, after I decided that homeless housing is my new purpose in life for Kingdom Legacy, that we will focus on homeless housing, God has just been bringing all of these divine connections and relationships to me. So, a woman introduced me to another woman who introduced me to another woman, and that's who I went to go meet today. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what we were discussing. I didn't know the connection. So as I get there, um, to meet the woman. She asked me to meet her at an address. This address ended up being Our Calling, which is a ministry. It's a huge facility, like the size of like a gymnasium, that is in the center of downtown Dallas, that specifically houses, feeds, and loves on the homeless. I never even knew it existed. So I'm outside on the grounds of this property meeting her. And as we're getting out our cars, I'm like, where are we going today? She says, we're going to where all the homeless meet. And we're going to go and just sit down and talk with them. And I'm like, okay, well, all right, let's go do it. We get there, and it was hundreds of people that were going to this outside facility to eat this is where they eat lunch. And I don't know the purpose of why we're going. I don't know what I'm there to do. I'm just with her. So we're going, we're meeting people, and essentially her organization, they just go outside where the homeless people are. They find out what their needs are, and they walk alongside them through life where they live until they get out of homelessness and into a new life. So they don't force them to do anything. They don't force them to get off drugs. They don't pressure them. They just say, what is it that we can do to walk alongside you where you are until you get to where you want to go? So she literally has a team of people who go out to the streets, to the camps, to the bridges, and just exist with the homeless people. And it was such a unique and mind-blowing concept that I'm outside with people who have all sorts of stories, backgrounds, and issues. And I'm just there with them. I'm not there to fix them. I'm not there to um, change them. I'm just there to love them. And so we met so many people. And one of the homeless men came up to me and he said, do you normally do this? Do you normally just converse with homeless people? Like, is this your normal life? And I said, well, you know what? Lately, it has been. Lately, we've been going out every Saturday to Martin Luther King and Holmes Boulevard, and we've been feeding the homeless. And he looked at me and he said, oh, that's you guys. You guys have been feeding me on Saturdays. He's like, thank you for the hot dogs and the food. We really enjoy it. We look forward to you guys coming. Like, what are the odds that of all the people out there, it's like a couple hundred people, that he was at our table on this past Saturday? Like, that's just a God moment. And he was able to say thank you and how he really looked forward to us coming. Um, and so I got to learn a little bit about his story. He's been homeless for 30 years, and he's at total peace. He doesn't want to come off the streets. He he said that God sent him to serve and to love and to help people cope and to serve. He serves with most of the ministries that feed the homeless. He volunteers. So it was just like all these light bulb moments, meeting these people. As we leave there, we go to lunch. She and I, we had this amazing moment, or these amazing moments together, learning about her background, my background. We come from completely two different backgrounds, and what she is trying to do, I'm her missing link, and what I'm trying to do, she's my missing link. And so we found each other today, and it was such a huge God moment that we're just sitting there like both with chills. God has told me to develop real estate housing, and that's the one piece that she needs. And God has told her to walk alongside the homeless and help them transition. But real estate is the one piece that God told her not to do. Except, he'll bring people to help her do that. So that was like, I didn't even know when I left the house today that God would send me another step on this journey for what he is asking me to do with Kingdom Legacy. It's all taking form in my mind, to my eyes, at the same time. So I just wanted to share this with you guys. There's so much more to the story. Like, I could keep going and going and going. I left that restaurant, walked out the door, literally walked out the door, ran smack into a real estate developer that I haven't seen in months. And the first question he asked me, he said, Farrell, I've been looking for you. Are you still planning to rebuild the community like you said you would? What are the odds that I'm at a meeting to talk to somebody about it, walk out the door, a successful real estate developer says he's been looking for me, and then proceeds to say, I'm working with a bank who has funding, and I want to help you finance your vision, and I want to help you develop your properties. I could have fell on the floor right there. Like, of all the Dallas, 7 million people, I'm walking out the restaurant and he's right there outside the door. And that proceeded to turn into a whole prayer meeting. The whole like 2, 3, 4 people came outside, staff, and they asked me to pray in the park on the curb. And it just turned into a whole like God day. I could go on and 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 on about all the things that have happened this week, and it's only Wednesday. But let's just know that God is doing miraculous things in Kingdom Legacy.